Hey guys, Max and Dima back here. Hope you're joining this live stream. This will be a good one. Original Oratory Round 3D, starting just in a couple minutes. 10:15 is the schedule, and let's see, we'll be seeing a bunch of schools this time, different than last time. So, um, right, stay tuned. This will be a good round.
Leave down in the comments. What do you think about the duet acting that we just saw? Like, in my opinion, it was fascinating. Like, the seriousness of all the topics were shown very clearly, and uh, effect it created, it was tremendous in my opinion. And I like the way uh, all of the participants knew how to use the only props that they had, which is like two chairs and a table, which is not a lot, but it seems like you can do anything with it. Okay.
That is something that I really admire about that event, specifically duet acting. Just they're very limited in terms of props, and they're specifically allowed to wear just black top and bottom. So I really like that there's also a rubric, kind of a sense of creativity that they're supposed to incorporate into their acts. So those are always interesting to watch, and make sure you stay tuned and tell other people to join the live stream for the finals. Those will be very, very good acts, and as for the events, they'll be very interesting too. The original oratory speech, which is just about to happen, is going to be, the same thing, just creative, and we look forward.
Yeah, definitely. I really want to see the changes that participants meant, not in the text, but the way they deliver the speech, because it's one of the important aspects that the judges will look for. So I think it will be fair for our audience if we just look at the schedule and see what teams will be participating there.
So the teams participating in this round are Budapest, Moscow, Helsinki, Sofia, and two teams from Vilnius. So, right, teams that we've never seen before. So this will be new to the stream, which is always exciting, just to see all the different types of acts that are present at this tournament. Okay, so it looks like the room is filling up and starting. Let's go check out this first speaker, Original Oratory, round 3.
Every single day, whether we're aware of it or not, we make decisions. Should I take the bus to school or should I walk? Should I pay attention to this speech right now or should I maybe doze off a little? Some decisions are easier than others. The walk to school takes an hour and the bus is only 10 minutes. This speech is boring and I really need to catch up on sleep. As we get older, we start to notice that all of a sudden, decisions begin to increase not only in frequency, but also complexity. We're hit with a barrage of social pressures, academic pressures, maybe even to an extent economic pressures. Wouldn't you rather spend time with friends than buckle down on your studies? Wouldn't you rather buy this nice sweater instead of putting it towards your college fund? The thing is, in these moments when we have minutes, maybe even seconds to make decisions, we think about now. What makes me happy now? I'm sure that many of you, myself included, would take time over friends with hitting the books, would take that one sweater over putting it towards something that seems too distant to even be a reality. What happens, though, when you're in college with a few packets of ramen and some boiling water for dinner, and you could be eating a hot meal at that restaurant all your friends are going to, but that one time you bought a sweater for $30 that you wore maybe 5, 6 times is stopping you? What happens when you get a rejection letter in the mail because they don't think your grades are quite up to par or they see that your studies aren't really a priority? The present may be now, but the future, that's everything beyond that. When we're younger, we get easy decisions. Strawberries or blueberries? Do you want to use red or blue? Should we play with dolls or read a book? Should we use crayons or markers? Should we do what our parents tell us to, or should we start crying? When we see things as very black and white. It's either this or that, no thought, no deep contemplation required. It's a knee-jerk reaction. And it's a little hard to believe that you can really regret a decision you made when you were like 5 or 6. When we're that young, our decisions aren't based on emotions or logic. Instead, they're based on pure instinct. But now, even these decisions that were once so simple, so easy, seem daunting, an impossible choice. Do you want to use red or blue? It's not a knee-jerk reaction, it's Well, the red looks better on the wall, but it's so bright, it kind of hurts my eyes. But the blue is such an ugly shade, and it doesn't match with the color of the wall at all. And it goes on and on. Maybe I just overthink, but I think we tend to do a lot of that these days. Overthinking decisions that ultimately have no impact on us right now or in the future. Now, it's less about instinct. It's emotions and logic that have started to register as important, but we can't quite tell which one is more important. It's strange, isn't it, that when it comes to harder decisions, decisions that actually have an impact on us, on our futures, we tend to do what we did before, the knee-jerk reaction, except it's a bit more sophisticated now. Now, they're emotions. Emotional reactions start to control you. Sweater, you think, because it will make you happy. Imagining yourself with the sweater makes you happy, so the lady at the cashier is handing you a shopping bag and you're forking over $30. Friends, you think, because your friends make you happy, and suddenly you're in a cafe with homework long forgotten and never done. You get older, and more of those in-betweens start popping up. Those nasty decisions that are complex and you spend hours, days, months puzzling over, agonizing, what do I do? These decisions, they're a fight between logic and emotions. Usually it's a fight between, this is what's best, and, but this is what I want. No matter how old you are, these kinds of decisions are hard to make. But if, when you're my age, which is 15, not 12, shockingly enough, emotions are running really high. That sweater you bought and didn't save, emotions won out over logic. Time spent with friends instead of studying, emotions over logic once again. Isn't it funny how now, when my biological emotion levels are peaking, I'm starting to have to make decisions that will shape the rest of my life? There's so many people saying, have you thought about college yet? Do you know what you want to major in? Are you planning on studying in the US? I'm going to be honest, I have no idea. Truly, I'm at a loss as to how I'm going to be able to make life-altering decisions when I had a hard enough time trying to decide what to write this speech about. And ironically, I ended up writing about indecisiveness. But now, I guess we're old enough to make our own decisions. We're old enough to make them, but the question is, can we? I'm not here to tell you what decisions to make. So what do you do when you have to make a decision? Try to recognize when your emotions are taking control. Don't wipe them out of the equation completely. Even if you do end up taking the more logical decision, you might be sacrificing your happiness with it. It goes the other way around, too. Sometimes, emotion-fueled decision-making causes regret in the future. You might look back and wish you'd used your head instead of your heart. Emotions and logic, they're both equally important, as is finding the balance between them. So now I ask, have you found your balance? Thank you.
That was a very nice speech about indecisiveness. Let's hope the judges were, however, decisive to place her in the finals, because that was absolutely amazing. I related to her points so much. Like, in my own life, yeah, I have the same thing, going to university, and you have to think about the future more than the present, and as you grow older, it becomes more and more like that. And so, that was a very good speech. I liked it a lot. And the next contestant will be coming up. We did not, unfortunately, I'm sorry, we did not catch which school she's from. Please leave it in the comments if you do know this individual. But I guess we'll see her again in later rounds, hopefully, and then we can identify her. So, the next individual, they will announce themselves for Original Oratory, Round 3.
A7, Laura, Budapest. Juliet Capulet, Cinderella, and I all have something specific in common. Let's just say we have some complications with our families. Coming from two different cultural backgrounds doesn't make coping with my family easier, but it definitely makes it more interesting. Think of Juliet's nurse, Mercutio's witticism, Tybalt's aggression, and the friar's misdirections. And there, you have my family. Every 2 years, I visit my dad's side of the family in Holland. The good thing about these visits is that they're predictable. I know exactly what to expect. I won't be hearing any upsetting news or juicy gossip about my Dutch relatives. No mention of divorce, breakups, money laundering, sudden LGBT revelations, or international espionage instances. When we're invited to my uncle's house, it seems to me that it is more of a luxury furniture showroom than a home. In order to achieve perfection at our dinner table, everyone has to have roles. My Uncle Pete, also known as the official server, places the dinner on the table meticulously set by my aunt that has been double-checked by the checker cousin Matthias. As we sit down to our pre-assigned seats, we switch between speakers in a calculated and orderly fashion. My Aunt Rebecca makes flawless circles of each food group on her plate. Sometimes, in mid-bite, a helicopter-like swoop from Aunt Rebecca will remodify any adjacent cup or fork. If you rationally think about this, it is borderline insane. Anyway, I look outside during the summer and it is usually gloomy or raining. However, no one seems to be bothered by that either. How is that possible? Do these people not need sunshine? My Hungarian family certainly does. As soon as they feel a droplet of rain touch their skin, they begin to panic. I can't even imagine how they would feel living in Holland. So this side of the family I see a couple of times a year. We usually gather at my aunt Chila's house, who lives at the countryside of Gödöllő in Hungary. The meals consist of several courses, enough to feed a smaller army, 2 types of sausages, soups, desserts mixed with my grandmother's cigarette smoke. But what I would like to tell you about is what happens before the dinner. The drama, which includes my grandmother transferring the wisdoms of Lenin to our conversation. Everyone is having a jolly good time, until my aunt asks my brother, who studies in Amsterdam, if there's still any Dutch girls left in Holland. My brother asks, "What do you mean?" He exactly knows what she means. And she simply replies, "Well, you know, like Dutch girls." This is where it all begins. These subtle statements build up to an intense argument about the current political situation in Hungary. Being a sensitive soul and being passionate about politics, I soon break down crying. My grandmother tries to ease the situation by ordering everyone to calm down and feel grateful for her state of health, because we all know what she has gone through and had to endure in her life. It's a miracle that she's not withering away in some Hungarian hospital. Just to make it clear, my grandmother is in a perfect shape. Nonetheless, she continues and points out that there's absolutely no need for crying, because I'm pretty, and if nothing works out for me in life, I will be able to find myself a rich husband. Then she continues and says that what we should be worried about is that her other granddaughter, who's sitting in the room, still doesn't have any children, even though she's nearing 35. Let's just say it isn't the most open and liberal atmosphere. When you think things couldn't go more south at this point in the conversation, this is the time when my mother, who always finds the perfect time to interrupt and is a hypochondriac, asks my uncle, who's the doctor in the family, if the little spot on her forearm is life-threatening. Despite all this, dinner is served, and by the time we finish, we find ourselves in a blunt, coma-like state, due to the amount of food and wine consumed. But again, it's all smiles, laughter, and feeling loved. All families should be like mine. It's a microcosm of a healthy democracy. The spectrum of social, emotional, and political points of views. I believe that I see the world through the orderliness and confusion of both sides of my families. Unlike Juliet, who succumbs to her family's desires, I'm finding my own direction while not losing sight of where I came from. Thank you very much.
International School of Hungary with their yeah, that's right, International School of Bucharest A7 Ferry Budapest. We're sorry. I was right the first time. Hungary, Budapest. That was a nice speech. We've heard it before actually, so I was wrong when I was introducing. These are not all new acts, but you know, some of the same acts, but they do change. They change the way that they enunciate, you know, just the way they deliver their speech in a more, I don't know, just a more strong deliverance, I must say. Overall, just the way that these participants have been changing their speeches in original oratory, it says like you're not supposed to change it between rounds, but you know they are, and this is what they explained to us in some of the interviews you may have seen. They say, you know, take the notes from the judges, and I'm guessing the notes from these judges would be just make your speech more interesting, I guess, and engage the audience, and the way to do that is by being the opposite of monotonous and just engaging them with your voice, because this is one of those events that is just all about the speech, puts the speech in a speech and debate tournament. And we're waiting on the next contestant, and here she approaches the podium, and she'll be announcing herself.
Yes, of course. Can you move it a bit back? Because I'm afraid I'll fall. Good morning. My name is Blagovesta Mesheva, and I'm representing the Anglo-American School of Sofia. How often have you heard the expressions, you throw like a girl, or don't you cry like a girl? Why are we, women, so oftenly attacked by these stereotypical phrases that mean nothing? Now tell me, should I throw like a monkey? Like an elephant? Or probably like a man, who I'm pretty sure I'm not. In fact, women don't even deserve these insults. According to Uncle Google, our best friend, the difference between the Olympic champion athletes for men and women in the category of shot put, which is basically throwing a heavy ball as far as possible, I don't know why would anyone do that, is only 9 centimeters. And who do you say is throwing like a girl? Now, about the tear part. Personally, I sob a lot, and boys telling me that doesn't help. But do you know who will give birth to your child one day? The answer is those weak and crying girls. But I think as a quick viewpoint therapy, you could do like Tom Mitchelson, who decided to try a machine that reproduced all the 3 contraction stages before actually giving birth. I cannot deny, he's a brave soul. In order to do that, he went all the way to Amsterdam because, as he says, there is no place in Britain where it's allowed to torture men like that. I'm not surprised that at the end, he simply said, ladies, you have my respect. Yes, respect. But still, Only women are referred to those hot and brain-dead blondies. Men are not. Why? Do they have a different type of hair for some reason? Or there is something to do with their eyes that excludes them from the equation? Well, no one refers to Donald Trump as blonde, while he, excuse me, has hair that looks like a freaking lemon-like wig. Speaking of Trump, in an interview with Howard Stern on 18th of May 2000, Trump shared his list of the most beautiful women with whom he would like to sleep with. And believe me, he held nothing back. Thanks for sharing, Mr. Trump. You could keep that information to yourself. Once, he even said that if Ivanka, his daughter, was in fact his daughter, he would date her. I mean, what can we expect from an atomic blonde? It's time for us to say a big enough to gender inequality. Women are as talented as men are. Sorry guys, but that is true. Share the fame and don't protest. Unfortunately, many men do not understand that and live with the image that they are much better than the opposite sex. And because there is absolutely no proof to that, they rely on the strength part. Stamina. During the first presidential debate, Trump said about Hillary Clinton, "She doesn't have the stamina." I said, "She doesn't have the stamina." And I don't believe she does have the stamina. Presidential alert, he repeated the same sentence 3 times. Well, Mr. Trump, if you insist that the future president should have stamina, let's ask Stormy Daniels about your stamina. I mean, how in the world could we vote without knowing that? Now, as people who live in the 21st century, we often hear the statement that women cannot drive properly. Fake news. But why? Let's be honest, you do not need to be good at PE in order to drive. If that was the case, oh my. But it's proven that women are the better drivers. In Great Britain, only 3/8 of the penalty points are held by women. The rest 5/8, we will not discuss them. A terrible case. But you see, because of the sexism, women get a lower salary than men do as drivers. And not only as drivers, but also in many other careers. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to make a change and make this world a better place to live. Again, this world, not Mars, as some people are trying to do. Think about all those women who need your help and support. Think about your mothers who gave you the chance to live and who are also victims of sexism. Women, don't be afraid to be yourselves and to stand up for your rights. We are sweet, we are salty, sometimes a bit spicy. That is what makes us phenomenal. Don't forget that beauty is in the differences. Let's move towards a better future together. People say, one day or day one. You decide. Let today be our day one. Thank you.
Okay, that was from the contestant from the Anglo-American School of Sophia, D8. And we've interviewed her. This is Blagovesta, so she should be famous on this stream already. Some of you should already know her. She gave some interesting answers on the interview. They'll stick with me forever. And the speech was good too. The speech was very good. So, yeah, the next speaker will be coming up to the podium because it seems like there are 2 more speakers for this round. That's what I believe. It's hard to see the audience in this room, but I think there are 2 more speakers in this round. And after this round, it will be the next round of the next round of events. Not the finals yet, but still round 3 of events, which is finishing up this morning. So, hope you enjoy.
And today I'm going to be talking about an everyday thing for us called happiness. Happiness seems like a pretty simple thing, but what is it really? I mean, we all enjoy going out into the city, having the time of our life, just, smiling and enjoying life. But what really is happiness? Well, according to the definition given by vocabulary.com, it is a state of well-being characterized by emotions ranging from contentment to intense joy. But is that really what happiness is? I disagree with the definition, and according to me, it's a sense of confidence and satisfaction. Why is that? It's because nobody goes out into the city crying and closed up. They go out with their friends, smiling, laughing. But why not sadness or anger? Well, to me, happiness is more than emotion. It's stronger than that because it's dominant over all the other emotions. I googled the word people and went to the images, and the majority of them were four types of people. The absolute majority were people happy. The other two were angry and sad. And the fourth one that was very occasional were celebs posing for People's Magazine. So why is happiness such a majority over images of anger or sadness? Well, that's what I want to talk about. Let's start with sadness. When you're sad, you become this magnet of depressing thoughts. You can get sick of depression, and it just affects your mental state in a very, very negative form. You have a lack of self-confidence. You don't have the confidence when you're happy. You're not out there. You're probably closed in a room in the corner crying or something. Let's talk about anger now. When you're angry, everything is wrong. Nothing is right. You think that you're the only one who can fix this. But all you really need is that sense of satisfaction, that moment of happiness. The Hulk, for example, and for those of you who don't know who Hulk is, he's a big and angry Shrek. And the angrier he grows, the more rage he lets into himself, he goes away from his human form, his happiness. To me, the human form of Hulk is like our satisfaction, our happiness that is inside us. And the more rage we let into ourselves, it's like the Hulk of us. But then again, anything is possible and all anger can go away. And a little woman comes along and shows the Hulk something that can evoke happiness in any of us, which is love. And he immediately loses all of his green, and he becomes Dr. Banner, his happy doctor. So why is that so easy to just get rid of anger? Well, happiness is inside of us, whether you're sad or angry. And why do you have to be sad or angry when you can be just happy? It's like in Bobby McFerrin's song, "Don't worry, be happy." Because why be angry when you can be why be angry when you can be happy? Thank you.